Hey guys! So today you and I are going to talk about temporary solutions. So let's get into it. So the question in question was, hi Frederick, what is the most questionable quote unquote temporary solution you've implemented that still is running years later? That's a good one. I would say I've made the worst, and I do mean the worst possible feature flag system. That's the one that at the top of my head that I can think of. So basically, to give you the story, I was working at a company who had one of those systems where it's a collaboration between a small startup, which was us in this situation, and the larger collaborators were banks, basically. And so in that specific company, the basic idea of the system that we were providing was that we were going to partner with the banking system. So we didn't have a web application that users went to. We provided an iframe application to the banking systems that they embedded into their applications. And with that setup, I learned a few. That was actually from the job I had before I took that job. I've learned a few things, and basically we created this application. And as you can imagine, when you're working with the banking systems and stuff like that, it took like a million years to get anything done. And so we developed this application, and then it comes to, I think it was, we had one partner to start off with, and then they were in discussions with the second partner. And so, me knowing a few things about how large corporations usually work and usually how customers think about things that are supposed to be representative of themselves, I tell them that based on my experiences from a previous company that had more than that, like that was a different sort of system, right? But it had the same sort of criteria where you have other companies using your system in order to showcase what they are selling to an end customer. And so what I tell my co-workers and so forth is that we should already now try to make sure that theming is part of the UI application, like the application that we are building. We need to have that pretty much immediately, because I can guarantee you that it's going to be the main request from all of the banks. Because as you can imagine, if they have a UI design that is branded towards their customers and like their brand, and then they come to our part of the application, if they open like that iframe somewhere, well, it's kind of weird if for the user, if the colors and the fonts and like everything is like completely different, it's branded towards our company. And the people that I talked to, like they sort of like, even the like in this case the CTO, he didn't like me all that much, so he's like, yeah, ignore. And then the sales department comes in after we signed our second customers with our third customer on the way, right? And says that that is exactly what they want now. So they won't sound the second customer, and well, he's because now they've learned the hard way what I already knew. So the customers say, we won't sign your contract until we have theming. And as you can imagine, if you have a sort of startup-y code base, and for the front-end developers out there who have ever implemented theming from scratch for like a application that has like hundreds and hundreds of components, I would argue that there are few things in front end that add as much complexity when it comes to testing and component design and so forth as theming, because basically you now have two completely different looks and feels, and that means you have to test basically twice, and or for every theme you have, right? And so our UX designers, they start coming up with, okay, so how do we brand this? And like they start making new components, because as you can imagine, all the buttons and colors and stuff like that's going to now look completely different from what we have in our implementation. And so we get this requirement and they want to sign it by the end of the week. And so me and my team, we kind of go like, my team kind of goes, yeah, we're never going to be able to do that in a week. We can't create a full-fledged feature theming system in that amount of time based on what we have right now. And so I say to them, well, okay, what we could do is that we could create a parallel application that just for now is, it's just like you basically copy paste the application twice, and then you style them, like you do like a really dirty hacky, like let's style all the things and make it look all the ways and like all the interactions, because as you can imagine, it's not just about buttons, it's about like how the behavior of animations, it's behavior accordions, or like things like that. So it is fairly significant. And so we do exactly that. Like we can talk to our customers and say that we don't have support for that now, but we can get like the landing page or like the main page that people are using to look that way in that amount of time, right? And so we do exactly that. I've literally copy paste the well, not the entire code base, but most of the code base twice. And then the next thing happens, which is, okay, so how do you now know which application you are on? And that's a little bit of an issue, because basically in an iframe, as you probably know, guys, and this is a web view as well inside of an app, which means that you have to have something to like trigger like something, and we can very, very rarely put any requirements on the banks, because for us doing a quick thing is the same day. For them, doing a quick thing is 3 to 4 meetings, and then we'll get back to you in 4 months. But I can't remember now exactly, but we found something in the URL that could help us. I think it was the domain or something like that. Don't quote me on that. That made it possible for us to know if we were in customer 1's application or customer 2's application. And then we literally, and this was a React application, we literally had two main applications, two application components, and an if statement at the top that just looked at which one were you looking at, and then it rendered the one that was the proper one, like for the correct one for the situation. So we basically had double the amount of application code that we wanted, just to be able to support that feature. And as far as I know, that is still the case. I'm pretty sure it still is, because as I said, like this and the third customer comes and does the same thing, and so forth and so forth. I hope that because it was still the case as far as I remember when I was still there, but maybe they fixed it. So what I want you to take away from this is that I have definitely done really weird temporary solutions that just kept, it became the way that it worked. And that's the sort of stuff that, I call it Satan's code, and I have written Satan's code, and I'm not in any way proud of it. The only thing I can hold up, I can wave my little flag here and say I'm sorry that I did this, but basically, as I've said to you guys before, there are situations where you can't win, where you imagine someone coming to you and saying, I want you to move this hill here like 100,000 tons of dirt, and we need to do that with a spoon, and you have until tomorrow to do it. Like you can only do the best you can with what you've been given, and in that sort of situation, and I like to say, that's everybody hates me for it, or rather they did in that company when I were to be the I told you so person. And I learned the hard way that it's not great, even if you are right 100 times and like things turn out exactly as you say, to remind people that you said so, because for some reason they just think you're smug, or some people just think that you're smug about it. But I did warn my company about this, and most of the sales departments sort of resonated with what I was saying, and I had more than one sales rep come up to me and say that, yeah, you like now they're asking about theming, and I said yes, because if you don't understand fundamentally that the web and like every single company, doesn't matter which, that's why we don't, that's why every web page looks different, because every single company have their own brand, their own style, they want to do things their way and customize stuff and like that. That's why the norm isn't that everybody's just using Bootstrap for everything, for example, because it doesn't look and feel the same way as the companies want their brand to look. And as web developers, we sort of have to account for that. So if you have an application that is supposed to represent another company, it is very, very common, almost a given, that they're going to want to be able to brand and style the way that that makes them feel like this looks like our corporate brand, almost always. Have a great day.